So the next class-based view we're going to be creating is the ability to create another link, to add another link to your profile. So if we go back into our views.py file, here at the top next to list view, we're going to import this other view, the CreateView. CreateView, and you can see here it's a view for creating a new object with a response rendered by a template. So we'll use that, and we'll come down here below the link list view and create another class and call this link CreateView, like that. That will inherit from the CreateView that we just imported. And now if we were going to do this whole process with functions, we would have to actually create the form, forms.py file and form. We would have to check if this was a post or get request, and then we would either return an empty form or save the form data. And so that's a decent amount of stuff. It's only 3 lines here, but if we were to actually code it out, it would be quite a few lines of code. And so this CreateView makes this whole process much simpler, because again, this is just a common pattern to want to create new data in the database. And that's generally done using this pattern with the forms and then checking if it's a get or post and then saving the data or returning an empty form. And so we're going to use this CreateView to do all of that. And we only have to specify a few things. We have to specify the model like we did with the list view. So we typically will always specify the model, and we'll say it's link. Then we'll also specify the fields, because this will actually create the form for us. So we don't need to go ahead and create the form in a separate file. We can just specify what fields we want in the form, and it will take care of the rest. And we'll say all the forms, so we can just do all double underscore, and it will render all of the fields. And then the final thing we need to provide is a success URL. And that imported a lot of things there, but we just need success URL. And this is where to send the user after they have successfully created a link. So where should the user go? Because we don't want to have them create a link and just reload the blank form. That's kind of a weird user experience. You want to send them somewhere. And we're just going to send them back to this link list view so that they can see all of the links and that newly created one. And so we're going to use something called reverse lazy. And then we just pass in the URL name, and it's link-list. And this reverse lazy was auto imported when I selected it there, but otherwise it's from Django.urls import reverse_lazy. And that will just look up this URL named link list. And after the user successfully creates a new link, it'll send them there. And so by default, this also creates a few things. So it creates a template called model_form. So in this case, that will be link_form.html. And then it will also create a form context variable that we'll have access to inside of this HTML page. So let's go ahead and wire up our URLs to trigger this view. So we'll go to our urls.py and we'll duplicate this path here. And this time we will just call it link/create. So this is where they will go, the user will go to create a new link. We don't want to use link list view, we want to use link create view. And if I select it from there, it'll be auto imported, but from .views, we want to also import link create view. And then we have to remember to call its .asView function so that it can return a response. And then the name here, we'll call it link-create. And then remember that trailing comma. Perfect. So now we have the URL set up. Remember to save the view. And now the final thing is to create the templates. So under our templates link plant, let's create a new file, and it's expecting link_form.html. And we can start off by extending the base. So we can say extends link plant/base.html. So that'll give us that header. And then we can define our block content. So just type block and it'll give you these block tags, and we can call it content. And then between these tags is where we want to put our actual content itself. So we can start off with just an H1 and give it a class here. So this is some Tailwind styling. We could say text 4XL, so it'll be larger. And we could say link form. Then we can give ourselves a horizontal rule, so just a line. Give this class equals margin Y4, so it'll have some space above it. And then we can render out this form. So for now, we can leave the action as is, and we can specify a method on it equals post, because remember, by default, these requests are made with get, but with forms, we want post. And then we also have to include our CSRF token, which you can include like that so that it knows that it's coming from this site and it's not some kind of hacker trying to scam you. And then here we can render our form that gets passed in to the context by our view. But this is just the fields, so we still need an input button. Type equals submit. We can add some classes to this. We can say padding X of 6, so it has some space to the left and right. Padding Y of 3, so top and bottom padding. A background of blue 200, and then a hover state cursor pointer, so the cursor will be a pointer. Hover BG blue 300, so it'll be a little bit darker when you're hovering over it. And then we'll also make it rounded. And then one thing we also want to specify is what should show up on the button. So we specify a value and we'll say save link. And then that should work for now. So if we make sure that our server is still running and go back to the web browser and go to /link/create, you can see here we have this form. Now it doesn't look that nicely because we need to add some styling to these fields themselves, which is what we'll handle in the next video. But you can see that we can enter some text, a URL, and select the profile and save the link. So let's go ahead and just test that out. So we can go ahead and add some text and we'll say LinkedIn profile, the URL, paste in whatever URL you want for your own LinkedIn. And then the profile, select your profile and click Save Link. And on successful submission, it redirects us back to this All My Links tab, and we can see down here the LinkedIn profile. Awesome. So now we're able to create a new link. We didn't have to create a form. We didn't have to check if it was a post or a GET request and handle actually saving the form data. That gets handled for us by the Django class. And the next thing we'll do is just make this /link/create form look a little bit nicer with some crispy forms and some Tailwind crispy. So I'll see you in the next video.